And it's like, wow, I really need to get a new life. Like I need to figure out what I'm doing so that I'm not so dependent on whether or not I'm connected. Yeah. So I think that's great that you're cutting it off at 10. And I think that doing those kinds of things will help us start to make connections with people. And if we make connections with people, it's harder and harder and harder to hold on to group hate.
That's true, but I also think there's something primal about it. There's something about our brains that wanna group hate. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna give an example.
You're right. It's been going on for generations, right? I mean, there's definitely been, hatred for certain groups, and it just changes which group we hate next.
But I think there's something about our genetics as humans. Genetics group rate. Let's look it up.
Well, there is. So what it is that for back in the days before we had all that we have, you needed a group to survive. You couldn't survive alone.
Yeah.
So you needed group, and there had to be us and them, because if there wasn't us and them, maybe all of us couldn't survive. Somebody had to be them. I'm just saying that in today's modern world, we can do a lot to prevent. We don't have to do it.
We're above that.
There doesn't have to be us and them. True, maybe it's a natural inclination, but there are a lot of natural inclinations that we have that we don't follow through with.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like,
Right?
we have a bunch of intrusive thoughts the whole day.
Yeah,
we all have it.
Right. I mean, I've been driving before and someone cut me off, and my first thought is, I want to swear at him, and I've even had the thought, excuse me for it, but gee, I should run them down. I should run them over. I should, because they cut in front of me, right? But it's a flashing, fleeting thing. And do I do it? No, I would never do something like that. So can't we do that with this? Yes, it's a natural inclination to do us and them. Okay. Do we have to do it? No, we don't. So what am I going to do to fight against that? And if we all did it even just a little, I think you'd start seeing, one of the easiest things to do right now is to stop labeling yourself. Instead of saying I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat, or I'm a white middle-class woman, or I'm a whatever it is, right? Stop doing that. Because when you do that, that means that there's people like you, and now there's people different than you. So if you stop labeling yourself and you just are, I'm Teri, and here's where I stand in different things, and you don't lean so hard on your label, then it allows you to open up a little more to people who may be different from you.
I had a teacher at university who would always complain how sometimes you're gonna subscribe to something that you need to fill up a form, and you need to put your age, your name, your address, blah blah, and they always ask your race, and you always come to class. That's an absurd. That's crazy. I'm human. I always try to write human, and they're not allowed. And I call them, and he always make a fuss about it. And as a teenager, like, gosh, just give your class, shut up. But now looking back, no. Looking back, it's like, no, he had a point. We are all human. We have different ethnicities. That's how you pronounce it, right? That's all. But the race is the same. It's only one. Now,
right. And I think that if we could start behaving that way, and I know that this is, very optimistic, and like you said, it requires people to be very mature. But let's hope that there are some people out there that are mature. Let's hope for that. And let's hope that they can look and say, this is crazy. Why are we doing this? Because as more and more people try to reach across these barriers, then the people who aren't as mature see it happening, and they too will start doing it. It's what happens in the world. And so for those of you listening who are, mature enough to handle it, stop labeling yourself, stop labeling others, and start reaching across these differences and get to know people. Get to know them for who they are and not the label that you've given them.
Yeah, because maybe you met someone on a bad day. They were just in a bad mood. You met one personality. Like, we all have different personalities living inside of ourselves. We show
Absolutely.
different. I think even there's a concept of masking. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but
No, but there is. And I mean, I know I have different friends that I have from different places. They know me from
Mm,
different things, right? And I try to be me authentically across all of those, but I am sure that I act certain ways with certain friends and certain other ways with certain other friends, not even intentionally, but just as a way of kind of fitting into the group, as a way of making myself enough like everyone else that I can fit. Well, so when you meet someone, you don't know which of the many personalities did you get that day.
mm.
And if you meet me on a really bad day, I love people. I love talking to people, but there are some days I don't. Right? There's some days where I'm peopled out, I'm done. And if you meet me on one of those days, you might make a decision about me that would not necessarily be true. And then I think the other thing that's interesting is sometimes you meet someone and you're right about what you think, but you're wrong about why. And once you understand their why, even if you still aren't enamored with them and think, well, this is going to be someone I'm going to be best friends with, you at least have a general understanding of how they got to the place that they're at. And that gives
Mm,
you some empathy.
mm.
You meet someone who's very closed off, who doesn't allow their emotions out, and you think, oh, I just don't know what to do with this person. And then you find out that they were horribly abused as a child and that they have big trust issues and that it changes now how you see what they've become,
Sure, but doesn't
right?
change the fact that they're not
No,
someone
it
fun
might
to hang around.
right. It might not change that, but does it not give you a little bit more empathy? Now, when you see the person, you might not think to yourself, I don't like them. You might think, not someone I care to hang around, but I sure do understand where they're coming from.
Yeah,
It's just a different, even if you can gain enough empathy to say, I still don't agree, but at least I can sort of see a point of view. That's so much better than walking around saying, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. Everyone else is wrong.
I guess my problem throughout life, I was always the opposite, always trying to understand why maybe to a degree that was not healthy. So right now in my life, I don't know if you're familiar with Mel Robbins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I just love the let them theory, which is basically, if you're in doubts about someone or the way they're treating you, just let them act the way they're acting, because the way they're treating you is revealing who they are.
Yeah. It's about them, not about you.
This changed my life, Teddy.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Yeah. No, no, really. And I get what you're saying that you can go too far. You can go too far with trying to excuse everyone and understand everyone. And,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's healthy either, but I very much feel that being one way or the other is never healthy. There's always a middle ground. And so the middle ground in this would be to, like you said, allow people to be who they are and see it for what it is, but also be willing to explore at least a little bit, and especially in terms of things that are very different from what you've experienced in life. For instance, I've never experienced racism. I'm a white woman in a predominantly white community. I don't experience racism. So I don't understand it in a way that someone who's experienced it would understand it. I understand it, you know, philosophically, like I've read about it, but I don't understand it in my heart, in my chest, right? So if I talk to someone, am I willing to listen to their experience despite the fact that it's significantly different from my own? And then once I've heard it, am I willing to allow it to be their experience? Or am I going to have to say, no, 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 you didn't feel that. You didn't experience that. That couldn't have happened. And that's what happens a lot is people say, oh, wait a minute, that's so different from me. I can't, oh, la, 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 I can't hear that. Right. And I'm saying, can we be open enough to say, that's a very different experience from my own? That's interesting. I wonder where that would lead me. Like be a little more curious just about how people got to be the way they are and why they think what they think. And a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of allowing someone to express who they are and why. without trying to stop them from being that will go a long way to making our society just a happier place.
Would you say that this would work in any type of relationship or just family dynamics and romantic dynamics?
I think in most relationships, at least the curiosity part, the trying to understand someone a little bit more. You know, in a close relationship like family or romantic, you want to do this even more. This is essential to let the people see who you are and to learn who they are. In a neighborly kind of, you know, like my neighbor, after a while, they're going to get tired if you keep digging into all of their business. So I don't mean that we should be like every person we meet, we need to dig down into the nitty gritty, but I still think that being open and curious and allowing for natural conversations to happen and not shutting people down when what they say doesn't agree with you would be a wonderful way to just start opening ourselves up to other ideas and being willing to see that, you know, there isn't always just one answer, that there's often multiple ways to get to where you want to go. You know, like driving to the grocery store, I can get there the main way, but I can also get there many, many other different back roads, and it will still get me to the grocery store, and to allow that to be okay.
Ah, that's beautiful. I don't know if my guests will take out something out of this podcast, but I'm sure I am taking a lot out. It's very,
Good.
very, very good, Teri. I would like to ask you, so you are releasing this book right now about the trip, yeah?
Yeah, so it came out in February.
Came out already in February, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you writing any new books, anything?
Yes,
next?
so I have 3 historical fiction novels out. And then, like I said, this book and a children's book. And I'm currently writing another fiction book. I have more things that I learned while on my ride. I have actually 10